Hooday, Bengal fans. He is Eric. That is Mon. I am Jake. This is the Bengals Pulse, the very low but still here heartbeat of our Cincinnati Bengals. These last 2 days, it feels like they're borderline flatlining, but that is what we are here for, guys. We are here for all of you. Thank you guys for joining us tonight. We are going to talk about the Bengals free agency so far and the lack thereof. And you know it's going to be a good show, Eric, when Mon's got the rally cap on, the baseball cap turnaround. Mon is focused. He's locked in. This could
He's
be
a
a
mon of all
fun
seasons tonight.
night. This could be a really fun night tonight. Mon, how you been doing, bud? You sound good.
Yeah, thank you. I'm battling a bug. I just got out of bed about an hour ago, and I was about to call in, a relief pitcher to come in tonight. But I took some medicine, and I'm ready to talk about our Cincinnati Bengals, how they do an amazing job of just making us, I don't know, angry.
Eric, how you doing, buddy?
I'm here. It's yeah. It is what it is. It's kind of like, so we're not flatlining, but Mon will know this when you his look his a dog is Mon's best friend. Okay. So anyway, I got them all tonight. You know when someone's got brain issues or goes through a bicycle accident or something, sometimes they'll put them on ice to slow their heartbeat down, slow their core temperature down, so that they don't get as much damage. I feel like the Bengals are on ice right now. Everybody thought they needed to go and make all these splashes, but we're just going through hypothermia. We're just slowly waiting to raise our temperature back. Go out there and sign Cody Ford's twin brother. Knock it out of the park.
Yeah, yeah. Well, guys, let's just dive right into this disaster of a free agency period and talk about really Zim. Zim, I love it. Yes, you had to fight through it. Listen, we have got to talk. We have got to talk about. Let's do this. Let's do this because there's definitely going to be some crashing out. I have a feeling. So let's talk about what we have done so far in free agency. I'm going to throw some signings out there. You guys tell me what you think. So let's start with the positives, if you want to call that positives. Mike Gesicki, again, we talked a little bit about this yesterday, but Mike Gesicki, 3 years, $25.5 million, $12 million up front the first year, about 8.5 each additional year. Joseph Asai gets re-signed. So David and the Bengals, David and Goliath have maybe worked things out a little bit. Joseph Asai coming to us on a 1 year, $7 million contract. We'll talk about that here in a little while. We already talked about yesterday a little bit about the nose tackle, TJ Slayton. 2 years, a little over 15 million for him. Samaje Perine back in stripes. I'm actually very excited about this one. 2 years, 3.6 million, a really good deal there. Obviously, we saw a huge decline in the pass pro when it came to the running back position when he left. So glad to have Samaje back. I still don't think they're done in that room. Defensive tackle BJ Hill is back, our 3-tech, 2-tech guy. 3 years, 33 million. Mon and I talked about this a little bit before. A serious leader in the locker room, and I think that's the biggest thing that we need to talk about with him. Offensive lineman, triple threat offensive lineman, Cody Ford, 2 years, $6 million. The only offensive lineman that the Bengals have signed so far. And then linebacker Oren Brooks, and I think this is this Oren Burks guy. I don't know. This is an interesting one, right? This could be a really good signing. I think he's going to come in and probably replace Akeem Adeniji. Good Lord, I just say that. Akeem Davis Gaither. Sorry, Akeem Davis Gaither. Good Lord, I just did you so wrong. I'm so sorry. Akeem Davis Gaither leaves, and Oren Burks comes in. 2 years, $5 million. Again, a guy that's played for a couple teams, which I'm sure Mon's going to talk about. But he was a stud, guys, in the playoffs and the Super Bowl. So maybe he comes in and helps out the Bengals. We lost, again, Akeem Davis Gaither to the Cardinals. Alex Kappa signed with the Raiders. And then, obviously, Sheldon Rankings signs with the Texans even before free agency starts. So let's talk about this first. Mon, I'll start with you. What are some of those signings that you really like? You're muted.
You're muted.
You're muted.
My dog was going mental earlier. So
No problem. No problem.
Okay. Everyone you mentioned, I mean, I'm glad Gesicki's back. We saw what he did last year. He's really important to this offense. He developed a bond with Joe Burrow. Good to get him. P. Ryan, I've always been a big fan of his. He knows the system. He's a plug and play kind of guy. He's not going to have to come in and learn a new offense. Burks was one of the big stars for the Eagles in the playoffs.
Yes.
Some of their players were hurt. He came in. He really flashed. I think he's going to be a core special teamer, and he's capable of starting some games. Very athletic. There's nothing wrong with that signing. That's really good. I do like the big defensive tackle, Slayton from the Packers. The Bengals needed to get bigger on that defensive line. We've talked about that, and they did with him. So, that's a must-needed signing. Just remember, he only played about 40% of the snaps for the Packers. He's a first and second down kind of guy. But we do need bigger bodies in the interior defensive line. It's a positive. I'm not, I'm going to talk about some other things later on. Those are all good things. But, let's face it, the Bengals have, they're bargain bin shopping right now. And some of them, it's probably going to, it's helped the team depth. It really has. I think they need to do a lot more to get better. There's still time.
Right. Oh, sorry, Mom. I'm so sorry.
Good.
Eric, go ahead. Did you want to? You good?
I'm good. Yeah.
Okay, you break it up just a little bit, but I know you say you're having some issues. Don't worry about it. You're good now. Eric, real quick before I get to you, I left out the big signing, Marco Wilson, 1 year, $1.5 million. Again, I kid, but let's be realistic. Marco Wilson was actually a bright spot, just like Joseph Osai. Those last 4 or 5 games, whatever it was, Marco Wilson played well for us. And just like Joseph Osai, obviously 5 sacks in the last 7 games. Eric, your thoughts on some of those guys that we have signed? What are the ones you like? Maybe some of the ones you don't like.
I mean, you got to like all the signings. They're good players, but it's not what you want on the first and second day of free agency. You want them to go out and make splashes. You got to get these deals done. Obviously, you got to bring these guys in, but these are usually end of the week signings, maybe the second week of free agency where you're starting to go out there and get those guys. I'm kind of on the fence with Joseph Osai. I don't mind it being a 1-year deal. I am okay with it. He's a multi-getter client, so typically you would expect to see 2 to 3 years with 75% of it guaranteed. It's a 1-year deal. He's still out there trying to prove it, and he was starting to prove it towards the end of last year. So I'm good with giving him another prove-it year, having him go out there, and then next year we're going to get a high comp pick for him if he does play well, or we get to bring him back again, on medium production. We talk about this being bargain shopping, but I kind of feel like it's not all the Bengals' fault this year. I feel like we're shopping in maybe at Dollar Tree where they put some of these goods in the wrong bins, Some of these players are over here in the $19 million bin when they really should be in the $10 to $12 million bin. We really wanted Will Fries, but to give a guard $19 million a year, I don't want the Bengals to be in on that. I mean, he wasn't the top guard out there, really production-wise. I would rather go get a Mekhi Becton, get a Brandon Scherf, get somebody in the $8 to $12 million range. And it just seems like this year the guard market is the one that lags behind. Every year there's one position that doesn't go right away because of a top tier guy is waiting to set the market, and we have to wait for that to drop out. I think that news is going to break soon. We did hear from Kelsey Conway that the Bengals are in on Tevin Jenkins. Hopefully that means that they're out there negotiating with him. I'll toss it back to you guys though. We'll go to Mon first. Give us your comments on Will Fries and the Bengals not being in on him, and then Tevin Jenkins. If we sign him, I think he's left guard. So, what are your thoughts on that, Mon?
Well, I mean, when it comes to the guard play of the Bengals, we've harped on it for 20 episodes. Arguably, the worst position on the roster is guards, is interior offensive line play. It's been the downfall, really, to our not making the playoffs last year and the year before. You could make a fair argument that was the reason. When that position group is that weak, you got to go out and you got to be aggressive and get good players. Now, I get it. We can get somebody next week that's going to play better than what Kappa played last year because Kappa was injured. I don't want somebody that's just a little bit better. I want somebody that's really better. And I'll disagree on Fries. Yeah, his contract's pretty steep. I'll be the first to admit that. But you know what? All the guards are getting paid top dollar. You know why? Because it's an important position. And unfortunately, the Bengals don't think it's important. If you don't have good guard play, you suffer. So that's why teams are paying these guys. We need to get good guard play, interior offensive line. If you go in to this offseason and you know that your guards are probably the worst in football last year, I feel comfortable saying that. And you're coming up on day 2, day 3, and you haven't signed one guard in free agency, and it wasn't super deep in the first place. They're going to sign Will Hernandez. He tore his ACL last year for the Cardinals. Before that, he's had a decent career. They're going to roll the dice. He's the reduced rack guy at Target, and it could pan out. It really could. But that's what the Bengals are going to do, and that's what frustrates me as a fan a little bit. I mean, we need to be better than that. We need to be better than that. We saw with our own eyes what bad guard play did to us this year. And what are they doing? It should have been the first target. But it is what it is.
Hey, at least Mon still got us shopping at Target. He could have said that we're at Walmart or Dollar Tree as I went. Jake, what are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, I think first of all, you guys know that I wanted Will Fries. I mean, you guys know that he was on the top of my list. I do. When I saw the contract, I was shocked. I mean, that's a lot of money to pay somebody at the guard position that had a pretty serious lower leg injury. I think it was didn't he have a tib fib? Wasn't it a tib fib?
He broke his leg. Yeah. I mean, a lot of guys have come back. Yeah.
Again, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that to downplay it. I don't want it to sound like that because I really wanted him, but I'm with Eric. I think 18 to 19 million for him is a little steep. I'm not saying I'd be mad if the Bengals overpaid a little bit, but I don't know. I was really surprised. I thought he'd be more in like the 14 range. He's obviously he's now a Minnesota Viking. This morning, the Vikings really went crazy fixing their O-line, D-line, right? Allen, Hargrave, and then Freeze as well on the offense side of the ball. I do think this Tevin Jenkins guy is interesting. I think my buddy, who is a big Bears fan, I asked him about him, and he said, if he can stay healthy, he's a really good football player. Just doing some research on him. He's coming off of his rookie contract. He's played in 39 games and started 32 of them. Again, he's a big guy, 6'6", about 320, 25, something like that. So big guy. He's definitely not going to fix our problems, but at this point, I would be happy to see any guard getting signed by the Bengals right now. Obviously, Becton is still out there, but there was word that Becton wanted to stay in Philadelphia, so I don't know if he's even going to be available. You still have Zeitler. You still have maybe that possible reunion with Zeitler. But I'm with Mon. I think I try to be I try to be on the positive end for this free agency period, but I'll be honest with you. I'm getting to the point now where I'm like Mon. The Bengals have talked about all offseason fixing the interior of the offensive line, and the only offensive lineman that we have signed is Cody Ford, who played for us last year. So that's very disheartening to me. Now, again, we don't know if we haven't heard anything otherwise, but the Bengals could have been in on some of these guards. We just don't know, obviously, if they were or not. But again, I think it all goes back to that awful, awful word, and that is guaranteed, right? The guaranteed money that some of these guys are getting are absolutely insane. And we know, guys, the Bengals are not in on that guaranteed money like some of these other teams throwing this crazy money around. I was talking to somebody earlier today about the New England Patriots. I think they have done a terrible job, to be honest with you. I think they have thrown a bunch of money at second and third tier guys. They're getting a lot of hype because they've signed a bunch of guys and spent a bunch of money. But I haven't seen anyone besides Milton Williams. And honestly, I'm not paying Milton Williams $27 million a year. I'm sorry. I'm just not going to do that. So again, it's a double-edged sword. You go out, you spend this kind of money. But at the same time, it's a risk. So, but we got to fix it, right, Mon? I mean, we got to fix both sides of the football.
Pull up a little bit of information on Jenkins. He would help significantly in the run game. He is a run blocking specialist. That would really help control the clock, as Mon likes to do. But he's played 4 seasons, and he's played 13, 12, and 14 games. He's been injured. Being a left guard, this is basically your Cordell Volson replacement. Keeping Cordell Volson for depth is going to absolutely be a necessity. But when the Bengals play in this world of non-guaranteed money, doesn't it lend themselves to a guy like Tevin Jenkins, somebody who's going to have to bet on himself and say, I can finally be healthy. I know I'm not going to get the guarantees because I haven't played that many games. Do you think the Bengals pigeonhole themselves to this type of signing, Mon?
I think they do. Their history has been that way. Is there a delay? Can you guys hear me?
No, you're good now.
Okay. No, I think about Pac-Man Jones. Pac-Man Jones was a prove-it kind of guy. The Bengals have historically done this for years. Yeah, Jenkins would be a great addition. He's nasty. He reminds me of Alex Redmond, but a better player. Alex Redmond was, a feisty guy that would fight, and Jenkins is that way. Now his back is troublesome, so the Bengals might put that in his contract. Some type of waiver of some sort. But he would be a massive upgrade for the Cincinnati Bengals. And I mentioned Will Hernandez. Will Hernandez is a good guard, a road grader, really big guy. Bengal guards normally aren't 330, 340, usually in the 310-pound range. And if you get both these guys, that would be huge. And, of course, Will Hernandez is coming off a knee injury. I don't know. I mean, people are kicking his name around. But, yeah, the Bengals are always, they need to prioritize and understand the guard position is important. It is very important, and I hope they get across the finish line with Jenkins because he would really, really help this team. It would help the third and short, fourth and short run games that the Bengals have probably been bottom 5 in NFL the last 3 years when it comes to those short type conversions.
Yes, and Mike, yes, you are right. We did re-sign Jackson Kirkland, but my point being that we have not gone – the Bengals have talked about – fixing this offensive line with guys that are not in the building, and the 2 offensive linemen we've signed were both in the building last year. So that was my point. But yes, Mike is right. We did re-sign Jackson Kirkland, but I don't think any of us are even thinking that guy hopefully takes the field. Yeah, Mom.
No, I mean, you just said it right there. I mean, think about it right now. If they don't sign anybody, we got an undrafted free agent in Kirkland. We have Volson, who's had trouble adapting and improving. And we have Cody Ford, who's bounced around 3-4 teams. Yeah. So is that what we want to go into 2025 with? Those guys, they could develop. Kirkland could really develop into a good player. I don't think he's there yet. We have to get better players now until we figure out what we have with those guys.
Well, and just you can't roll with those players when you got Mekhi Becton out there, Kevin Zeitler, Brandon Scherf, Tevin Jenkins. Who's the guy? Josh Myers. Is that the one you were talking about the other day, Mon?
He tore his ACL in the playoff game, so this could be a redshirt year for him.
Yeah,
he would be a guy that I would sign to a 2 or 3 year contract and a minimal signing bonus because he's still young. He's only 27. He could turn into be a great player. He could maybe start the last half of the season.
And Max Sharping is still out there, guys. We all love the Sharping experiment.
No, thank you. Ben, no, we did not sign Tevin Jenkins, but right before we went on air, Kelsey Conway put it out there in Twitterverse that the Bengals are in on Tevin Jenkins. That's what it sounds like. So, but there you go. No, we have not signed Tevin Jenkins, but it sounds like he is on the Bengals' radar. And for me, guys, I don't know how you feel about this, but for me, this is a situation. The Bengals have to come out of this free agency with 2 guards. I really feel like that. Like I just do not – I am not confident in this team drafting and developing offensive linemen. So for me, I know a lot of these guards are coming off of injury too. It's really scary, right? I mean, every one of these guys that we're looking at has had some kind of an injury or they're coming off of an injury. But to me, I think Kevin Zeitler, I know what you're going to say, Mon, but I am all about bringing Zeitler back if he wants to come back to Cincinnati. I think that would be a good stopgap. He is a solid guard. I would feel very comfortable with him coming in and playing a year or even 2 before we draft another guard. But again, my number 1 guy is Mekhi Becton. I think he is a guy that the Bengals have got to go in and just throw money on the table, right? I mean, he is a guy that was in last year in Cincinnati. Burrow took him out to dinner. We all know the story. I'm pretty sure Frank Pollock messed that all up. But I just think Mekhi Becton is a guy the Bengals have to be all in because we've talked about this, Mon. This is not a good draft when it comes to the guard play.
No, if you want to get a guard, you're going to have to get one early in the draft, 17 or 49. Anything after that, they're going to be developmental kind of guys. I'm not saying they can't be good players in the pros, but I'm not going to have a 4th-round pick protecting Joe Burrow. Zeitler would be fine. Zeitler is still playing at a high level. He's a 2-year guy. They have to get some young people and develop them. I would rather go the younger route. But listen, if they can't strike a deal with Jenkins, I would take him or Scherf. That would be a massive upgrade to what we had over the last couple of years. They have just if they get Zeitler, they're going to pick a guard early or an offensive lineman that they could potentially move there. There's a lot of good players there. Remember Montgomery signed that Slayton played for Montgomery in Green Bay. Well, our offensive line coach was the coach for the Browns. He was assistant offensive line coach for years, and they're saying their former first-round pick, Wills, is could be available. Can he play guard? Can he come in and be our swing tackle? I don't know. They still have time. There's still people out there that they could sign. They just need to do it. I mean, as a Bengal fan, I'm in mini freak out mode here because I don't want my quarterback pummeled. I don't want my I just want physicality. I want some guys on the offensive line that are going to punch instead of getting punched. And I think Hernandez, I think of Jenkins, I think those are 2 perfect guys that could give that physicality and that attitude to the Bengals offensive line.
What do you think about, let's say a guy like Mekhi Becton, because I think we can all say, he's probably at the top of the list right now as far as guards available. I think Tevin Jenkins is probably right underneath him somewhere. What would you pay? What would you pay, Mon, if you're running this football team? what kind of money would you throw at Mekhi Becton to get him to come to Cincinnati? What would you be willing to pay a year?
That's a good question. He's only had one really solid season, and that was last year, and he was playing on one of the best offensive lines in football. So it's going to be one of those things. I mean, is he going to take a prove it year, like a deal like Joseph Osai? I'd give him a 2-year, $16-17 million contract. I would like to get him for 3 or 4, but is he going to want to bet on himself to get a mega contract? I'd give Jenkins $10 to $12, $13 million a year and see if that would do it.
Well, I mean, Eric, the Bengals have got to do something, right? I mean, Mon said it earlier. This offensive line right now, if the season were to start today, and obviously that's kind of a weird thing to say because we still have the draft, we're still in free agency, but let's just say the season were to end now. You are looking at an offensive line of Orlando Brown Jr., Amarius Mims at tackles, Cody Ford and Volson at guards, and Karras at center. Jackson Kirkland coming off the bench, Matt Lee coming off the bench. This is a very scary situation. Again, I'm like Mon. I'm in a little bit of panic mode right now because all we heard about from Duke Tobin was how this offensive line was going to get fixed, Eric, and we are sitting here finishing up day 2, and the Bengals have signed Cody Ford and Jackson Kirkland, 2 Bengals that were on the roster last year.
Yeah, this is not their plan to fix it. I don't think anybody on the Bengals organization thought that we could just go get a new offensive line coach and he'll fix the guys that we have. Maybe that could happen. Maybe he comes in and really takes Volson and makes him a really good player. But where's Volson's ceiling? Is Volson's ceiling anywhere near Becton's floor? I don't know if it is. So I don't think that this is the game plan, and I don't think that Bengals are in settling for anything mode. I think that they're going to take some swings here. There's too many guys available. I mean, it's not super deep, but there's quality guys here that the Bengals could go grab. They just have to overpay for one of them. They need to go out there now and say, you know what, we need to lock this guy up right now. Let's overpay a little bit. Mekhi Becton's just looked up his projected contract is 4 years, $41 million, so just over $10 million a year. It's a big jump from where he was last year. He made $2.5 million. Good for him. He had a good season with the Eagles, won the Super Bowl. $10 million a year, I'm taking it. That's only $2 million more than we were paying Kappa, and he should be a significant upgrade. But you need to go grab Becton. You need to go grab somebody else. We do not need to turn around and see the Bengals signed a swing guard that played for the Jacksonville Jaguars and last year was making $3 million a year, and we're giving him $5 million a year. That would be the most underwhelming thing that the Bengals could do, and that would have us all crashing out and really losing it. So I don't expect them to do that, but it is possible.
Mon, let me ask you, Mon, because again, I'm going to stick with the offensive line for a minute. What has happened over these last couple of years with this offensive line is just absolutely atrocious. Watching the best quarterback in the NFL run around and have to be a superhero week after week after week. We watch a lot of football. We talk a lot of football, and it seems like every week you're watching these other quarterbacks that are not even in Joe Burrow's league sit back and have all this time, like a Jalen Hurts, sit back and have all this time in the world and get to go through his progression and go through 4 reads before he has to throw the football. I mean, don't you think eventually the Bengals have got to look at this situation as, we can't just rely on our coaches to do the job. We got to go out and get some talented players. I mean, don't you think it eventually has to come down to that?
It does. We've said it. Anybody that watches the show, I agree with you 100%. The problem with the Bengals, they can't walk and chew gum. We have 3 elite NFL players wanting new contracts. We don't even have one of them locked up yet.
Yeah.
So all their energy is still going to Chase, Higgins, and Hendrickson. They're still trying to figure that out. So guess what? We shop bargain bin stuff at Walmart and Target because they're so fixated on this. It should have been done before free agency because they don't, they don't really have hard numbers. Can I overpay Jenkins $3 million? It's going to take away from Hendrickson. Can I overpay this guy? Can I do this? Can I do that? It's mind-boggling. It really is. Just once in my life. As Bengal fans, I went on a little rant a few weeks ago. We're sort of conditioned that talk like the Bengals. And
Right.
we shouldn't be. We shouldn't be. I agree Fries is overpaid. Not that much, though. Trey Smith was a $20 million guard. Everybody, pretty much every publication I saw online, they had Freeze as second best guard in this free agent class. He wasn't going to get $21 million, but he was going to get close. But
Yeah.
that's the going rate, man. I want this team to go all in and get quality players. When your interior offensive line was that bad, I get it. You could get Eric. You could get the $3 million guard from the Jaguars. He'd be better than what we had last year. But I need better than that. I do need better than that. I just don't want a little bit better. I want a lot better. And I just want us, everybody. I keep on hearing it in the chat pages, guys. With Dalton Risner, the Bengals could sign him. They've had opportunities for 3 years to sign this guy, and they haven't. Everybody talks about Risner. Everybody talks about him. Could it happen? It could. I just don't think it is because it would have already.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's frustrating, man. It really is. I love this team. I'm going to watch every game. We have a podcast about them. But, man, they got to be better than this. They got to be better than this.
Let me ask you this. I want both of you guys to comment on this. I want to go right back to what you just said, Mon, about the three big ones. Now, again, this is me not making excuses, but this is definitely, I think, where my mind is at right now because we heard that the Bengals were going to be so much involved in free agency. We haven't seen any of that as of yet. But I think maybe the Bengals thought that they would have maybe Trey and T wrapped up before today. A lot of the Bengals media guys thought that T would already be done. Do you think the lack of involvement in the free agency period is due to the fact of the Bengals not getting these guys signed? At least 2 out of the 3. I mean, I really feel that's kind of where my mind is right now, is that the Bengals are so concerned with T and Trey that they are not capable, like you said, chewing gum and walking at the same time. Like, they're not capable of focusing on 2 things at one time.
Were you asking both of us?
Yeah, both of you.
Yeah. Go ahead, Eric.
I don't think that that's it because when you extend those guys, you're going to lower their cap hits. Even Trey should have a lower cap hit if he's extended. Right now, Trey is supposed to get he's an $18 million cap hit. T is 26. Jamar is 21. All 3 of those extensions lower their cap hits. We're sitting today at $41 million in cap space. That's what we currently have. There is nothing money-wise that stops you unless they've got $200 million sitting in the bank account, or let's say probably about $50 million that they would need, because as soon as they sign them to guaranteed contracts, they got to put 15% of that in escrow. So unless they've got $50 million sitting in a bank account and they can't go hand out other money to these other guys because they don't know if they need to take that 50 up to 60 or take it down to 40. That is the only reason that these deals would be delayed by the Jamar, Trey, and T deals. And if that's the case, it can't be the case because these deals would be done. You cannot hamstring yourself by not paying your guys and then saying, well, I can't go make offers to other guys because I don't know how much I got to pay these guys. That is the worst way to run a business. And if that is any part of it, then Duke should be gone, hand the job to Trey Brown, or just get rid of them all and just run it like a real organization. Go ahead,
Eric. You say that, but has the Bengals front office shown you anything differently about running a business? I mean, you say that, and that is obviously the common sense of it
Hold
all.
on. They run a fantastic business. Running a business is all about your P&L, your profit and loss. The Bengals don't pay out huge amounts of guarantees. They don't have dead cap. What is dead cap? Dead cap is money that you have to pay to players that are not on your team. The Bengals, the Mike Brown, his family, they are a great businessman. But you know what that hurts? That hurts you being a great football owner. That hurts you winning football championships, because sometimes
Bingo.
you have to put the profit and loss aside. You got to overpay. You got to eat some dead cap so that you can go win a championship. Take a swing, overpay. Go ahead, Mon.
Take a risk. Don't have sticker shock. Take a risk. You got arguably the best quarterback in football. You got the best wide receiver in football. You got another wide receiver that's top 10. Take advantage of this opportunity, man. Take advantage of it. You said something earlier, Eric, that is so true. The $26 million cap hit right now, technically, for T. Higgins. If they signed him, that number would go down. They'd have $7, $8, $9 million more dollars to play with.
Mm-hmm.
So in a way that they're hamstringing themselves. They are. They could have, I know they have $40 million. They could have another 10, 15. And I want to circle back to Joseph Osai. I'm a fan of his. But 1 year at $7 million to a guy that's been injured a lot, think about that. I personally would rather take that $7 million and put it towards a guard. Like, hey, let's get it over the top. Let's get Jenkins here, and let's get Zeitler here. That would totally fix our interior offensive line and go draft a pass rusher. That's what I would have done. Because you know what? Let's face it. Joseph Osai's been hurt a lot more than he's played. Now,
Yeah.
I would love to come back and say, hey, I was wrong. He gave us 10 sacks this year. It is what it is. I'm not a hater of Joseph Osai, but 1 year, $7 million, that's a risk. That is a risk. But you're right. There's a lack of aggressiveness. They're timid. When it comes, they're shrewd businessmen. They are great at making money, but it doesn't always translate to building a championship.
So let me ask you, because again, we're looking at, and again, we're just fans, so we're just looking from the outside. But Trey's people supposedly promised the Bengals, hey, we're going to get you a first round pick. We're going to get you a first round pick for Trey. Well, nothing has come about. We haven't heard anything about Trey Hendrickson going anywhere. We haven't heard any trade talks. All we've heard is that there's some people interested. I still think the Bengals are not trading Trey Hendrickson. I do not think that is happening. I just don't. You again, 40 plus years I have watched this team, and it's like there's a better chance of a unicorn coming through that door behind you, Mon, than the Bengals trading Trey Hendrickson. It's just not going to happen. So do you think maybe their lack of interest in the edge market, because we've seen a lot of edge guys going off the market very quickly, do you think that is a sign that Trey Hendrickson, whether he wants to or not, is going to be in stripes next year?
Everybody knows I'm very big on Trey Hendrickson, and I think it would be a horrible move if they do trade him. I think everything that's happened to him, I think it's helped the Bengals, because a lot of teams that we speculated could be interested in him have gone out and signed other players. I think the chances of him returning are big, but I think the Bengals are still high on Miles Murphy, obviously Osai, Cedric Johnson. They have a lot of bodies there that can come in and generate pass rush. This draft is loaded with defensive linemen. They're going to draft 2 this draft out of 6 picks if they don't get more picks with trading back or something. I think pass rush bodies, they're going to have a lot, and I'm holding out hope that Trey Hendrickson does stay. I mean, guys, he's been one of the best Bengals ever. I will say that. He's been one of the best Bengal players ever in 4 years. Easily the best free agent signing. 35 sacks in 2 years. And I just want everybody to understand this. There's people on Twitter that hate him because, he can't play the run. 35 sacks. And there's been nobody else on that defensive line that can generate consistent pass rush that helps him. He gets chipped, he gets double teamed, and he still got 17 sacks. I mean, guys, that's big time. That's big time.
That's why he should have been Defensive Player of the Year. We're not going to get on that now, but that's why he should have been Defensive Player of the Year, which is a joke. Eric, again, your thoughts. I mean, do you think Trey Hendrickson is back in Cincinnati next year? Because I would bet my car on it. I really believe that Trey, and I'm not saying that because I want it to happen. I just do not see it happening. I don't see them moving from Trey. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think the market is what the market is. I think this is his agent overplaying his hand. I mean, his agent already made the mistake of signing the 1-year extension when Trey didn't need to. I would be pleasantly surprised if we got a 1 back for him, but I think that they're going to come back and they're going to go to the negotiation table, and this really gives the Bengals the upper hand, because if Trey doesn't come back with a GM that says, hey, we'll give you something for Trey, and this is what our offer is to him, then the Bengals say, well, you went out and you tested the market and you didn't get anything better than us, so now all the negotiating cards are for the Bengals. I think every day we go without a trade is more likely that Trey's back next year, and I would rather have Trey back. Unless you're bringing us a top 25 pick, I want Trey Hendrickson back. I got a question for Brucey B here, and I'll kind of rephrase it here too. But he says, do you think under Golden Osai will improve though? And I kind of want to add on to this. As we currently stand, I think that the Bengals are leaning way too much on Al Golden being able to take a young defense and make them great. Do you guys agree with that, or do you think Al could unlock some of these guys like Osai? And I'll go to you first, Jake.
I think again we are betting a lot on Al Golden in this defense, right? I mean, with the lack of movement right now, as far as what we have seen and how poor this defense was last year, this is coming. And again, guys, I'll say this: I believe coaching is the difference between. But again, everybody has talent in the NFL. Everybody has talent. This is the best players in the world. Coaching is the difference. It really is. It truly is the difference. And so I want to believe in Al Golden, but I also know this defense is not very good. It's just not very good, and the Bengals haven't fixed it. We haven't gotten better. We have not gotten better since the season ended. We haven't. So I don't know. I don't know if Al Golden can come in and do that, because Al Golden is not a known commodity. He's not. He's a great linebackers coach. He was a great coach at Notre Dame, but we have no idea what we are getting when it comes to Al Golden being a defense coordinator in the NFL. We just don't. I mean, there's no sample size to look at. So I want to believe that he would, but there's no way that if the Bengals are thinking that they can go into this 25 season and throw all their eggs in Al Golden's basket, then they just need to, I don't know. They need to start all over from scratch, because they're crazy.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry. Real quick, I just think I agree with you. It's a lot of pressure on Al Golden and the staff. I think the Bengals are banking on it, because I think that's part of the reason Lou Anarumo isn't here. They didn't play the young guys. They're expecting improvement just from the coaching staff. I think that's way too much pressure. They have to improve the talent base. They have to. And, I don't know if you I listened to ESPN 1530 today. They had Mo Egger and Paul Daner on, and they were talking basically about this. They brought up a really good point, how they're basically, bringing the band back together. Joseph Osai, they're bringing back a lot of the same people. Mike Gesicki, all these guys. They're not really going outside. A lot of their key signings are guys that were on the team already.
Right.
So they are expecting this coaching staff to do a better job developing and, getting more out of these players. It's going to be important, but that's not enough. They have to improve the talent base, because what did you say, Jake? What did you say, Eric? What did I say? look how good Joe Burrow was and Jamar Chase and even T. Higgins when he played. They were so special, and Trey Hendrickson. You could honestly make an argument they were the top of their position in the NFL, and it wasn't good enough. Why wasn't it good enough? Because we had arguably some of the worst play at key positions. Their greatness was offset by the poor play of 4 or 5 spots down here. We can't be at the bottom level at guard, at defensive tackle depth. We can't be there. Safety play was horrible. If anything, we need to be in the middle of those spots. We cannot be rock bottom, because I don't care how good your quarterback is, it's going to be hard for them to offset that. We can't have 40 to 45 shootouts every week. That's not sustainable.
No, I mean, you're absolutely right. It's not.
Got a super chat from Fuzzy here saying Joe T and Jamar are learning that promises from Bengals front office are useless in proving Palmer, Ochocinco right in their criticisms. I would argue that Joe, they kept his promises to Joe, but like you said, they got to go and build around him. What do you guys think? How far away from being able to say that this is teetering on a Palmer type treatment?
Listen, first of all, Fuzzy, thanks as always, man. Thanks for coming up there with that super chat. We appreciate it. Listen, I'm going to throw this out here. I am not a Carson Palmer guy, and to be honest with you, I think Carson Palmer was a big crybaby. So to me, I'm not Carson Palmer. To me, it should not be discussed when we're talking about these things. Again, that's how I feel. I feel like, listen, the reason why we went out and got T.O. is because of Carson Palmer. Carson Palmer, all these guys, the Bengals went out and got some of those guys, and we saw what happened with Carson Palmer. We saw what happened with him. He quit, and what happened? Andy Dalton came in and led us to 7 straight years of playoffs. So Carson Palmer, I'm not buying it. However, I think there are some legitimate players out there from this organization that have made comments about this organization that have definitely come to fruition. So, yes, I think it definitely is something out there. But Carson Palmer, well, I'm not going to say it, but Carson Palmer, to me, is not involved in this conversation when it comes to the Bengals and how things are run. Mon.
I don't think we're at that point yet. I'm not a Carson Palmer fan, but Jake, he did have some of his complaints about the organization. We're having the same complaints today. The thing that frustrates me with the Carson Palmer analogy, again, we're not there yet with Jamar, T, or Joe. Now, if things don't improve, it could manifest into that, and I hope it doesn't. Carson, let's go back to Carson. Carson was very stubborn. He had legitimate complaints. I give him that. But you know what else he had? He had a roster that was being built that was considered a top 5 roster in the NFL. I don't care what anybody says. Andy Dalton had half the talent of Carson Palmer.
Yes.
He led that team to 5 consecutive playoffs. They did not win.
I'm in 5.
Yeah, you're good. They did not win. I get it. All right. But he led them. 3 potential Hall of Famers on that roster in that span. 3 on one team. Whitworth, Geno Atkins, AJ Green. You had Marvin Jones, Mo Sanu. You had a lot of good players. Michael Johnson, Delmetto Pecco. I mean, really, Carlos Dunlap. Elite NFL players. And if he would have stayed there, I mean, he's much more talented than Andy. He really was.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think he was the leader. I mean, could they have won a few playoff games? I think they could have, but he was so stubborn. If he would have taken a step back, I remember John Thornton, and I remember Willie Anderson saying this years ago that they tried to talk to him like, dude, take a step back and look at this roster, chill out. And he didn't want to have anything to do with that. But, forget about Carson Palmer. They have to do something now because there is frustration. Joe Burrow went on this, how many Radio Row during the Super Bowl? How many times did he talk about signing all the guys? He put pressure on the front office. He really did. And if they don't come through, it could be something to monitor. I'll give you that.
Yeah, 100%. Thank you for the super chat, Very much appreciated, Fuzzy. You know that guys, this Bengals situation right now is obviously very volatile. I mean, you know, I think all of us are waiting around for T news. You know, the Jamar Chase thing, and our guy, I will give our guys him all the credit on this one. He said days ago that Jamar, there's no reason for Jamar to sign right now. So I don't think any of us need to be waiting around for Jamar Chase to sign. He's going to sign. He's going to be a Bengal for as long as Joe Burrow will be. But I do think that T. Higgins and Trey Hendrickson, I think something has got to be done, right? I think Bengals cannot sit on this situation. I think something needs to be done, not just because we want it to be, but because the Bengals have to get it done, right? I mean, they have to get this done now and get it out of the way. So this is not lingering into the off season, or further into the off season, into training camp and all that stuff. The Bengals need to take care of T. They need to take care of Trey and get those done. Jamar probably is not going to get done till the summer anyways. Jamar's not in any rush. So everybody about the Jamar situation needs to just relax, calm down. Jamar Chase is not signing tomorrow, but T. Higgins and Trey Hendrickson have got to get it. They have got to get those done, if anything, to square away this roster, to see what we have to do in the draft, which is right around the corner. And by the way, the Bengals did not get any comp picks today, boys. No comp picks. So the Bengals still sitting at 6 picks with a lot of holes in this roster is not a good situation to be in right now for the Bengals. So no comp picks today. The Bengals have 6 picks, and that is it. So this whole trade and T. Higgins thing, it has got to be squared away, because the Bengals have got to know what direction to go to in a couple weeks from now when we're drafting. Do they not?
Yeah, they have to know where they're going. And just to add to your point with Jamar Chase, if Jamar Chase would have signed 2 weeks ago, he would end up getting less money, because the Bengals openly said he's going to be the highest paid non-quarterback in the NFL. Well, Myles Garrett goes and makes an extension for $40 million a year. Now all of a sudden that number goes up. And Jamar posted on Instagram, as yesterday or the day before, but he posted a meme that said, "Know your worth," and then add tax. Jamar knows that he's going to be the highest non-paid quarterback out there. Every day that he waits, every next big deal that's signed, his number goes up and up and up. And you're right, he doesn't have to do that now. To me, it's got to get done by training camp. We can't go through training camp again where Jamar's on the sidelines. That's not good for morale. But yeah, you're right. T. Higgins needs to get done, because right now you're staring down a $27 million cap hit basically for T. Higgins. You're not going to trade him. You better get that contract done.
What about Trey, Eric? I mean, the Bengals right now, if Trey Hendrickson is not in stripes, we got Joseph Asai and Miles Murphy. That's what we're rolling with. And Cedric Johnson, who did not play a lot of snaps last year as a rookie. I mean, that's what we're rolling with. That cannot be the case. You cannot go into a draft needing 3 edge rushers.
I think at some point the Bengals will say, we've made you a good offer. We've offered you $27 a year. You're currently making 18 or 16 plus I think some bonus money, but you got an $18 million cap hit this year. At some point, they're going to look at Trey and say, you didn't bring back any offers. We have this offer to you, counter offer, or you can play on your $18 million. And if you want to retire, it's been great having you a Bengal. I know Mons pointed out that that's not great for the locker room, but at some point it's business, and I can see the Bengals absolutely doing it. And Trey Hendrickson would probably be the one to cave and take that $27 million a year deal. Mon?
The Bengals we used a word the other day, organizational malpractice, and it's the truth. Because the longer they go without signing T, he's a $26 million cap hit. When he signs his contract extension, it's not going to be $26 million. They have $5, $6, $7, $8 million less money to play with. It could be costing us a guard right now. In all honesty, T. Higgins should be in year 2 of his new contract. They should have done this years ago. They should have done Jesse Bates years ago. They need to be proactive. J.J. Watt said it. He wasn't talking about the Bengals, but he said it. He goes, you got to sign these players early.
Yeah.
All right, because it gets more expensive. Jamar Chase last year supposedly was super close to signing his contract. Hey, man, it cost the Bengals $6-7 more million a year now, potentially. And the same thing with, if the stories are correct that T. Higgins wanted Michael Pittman money, the Bengals would love to give him Michael Pittman money now. But that was 2 years ago. Hopefully they live and learn. They have a philosophy. It just doesn't make any sense right now. It really doesn't. And I hope they piece it together and make this free agency successful, because with 6 draft picks and a lot of unproven rookies or young players over the last 2 drafts, that's a lot of hoping for the 2025 season. It's a lot of hopes.
Yeah.
And, hope is great. Hope is great. I want more. What is it?
We don't need rebellions. We need the Bengals to turn into the Republic. We need to dominate.
Yeah.
We don't need hope. We need to just take our iron fist.
I mean, guys, this is the thing about the Trey Hendrickson situation. Again, I want the guy to get paid, but his agent has screwed this whole thing up. Trey Hendrickson, again, I cannot possibly believe that Trey Hendrickson and his people think that the Bengals should take anything less than a first-round pick for Trey Hendrickson. If Trey Hendrickson's wanting $35 million a year, then he's got to expect that the Bengals are going to want that value back. They're not just going to give Trey Hendrickson away. I've said it from day one. That's not happening. That's not how Mike Brown operates. He does not. He is hard-headed and stubborn when it comes to this stuff. And honestly, in this situation, I'm glad he is. You can't give away a commodity like Trey Hendrickson, who is already under contract, by the way. You cannot give him away for a 3rd and a 5th round pick. You just can't do that. That is bad business. Bad business is giving away a value commodity for nothing in return. The Bengals, if they're not getting what they want, they need to get this Trey Hendrickson situation fixed, because you cannot go into the draft with 6 picks, needing 3 edge rushers, and then at the same time, you have the wide receiver situation in flux. You have 2 guards right now on your roster when you should have 4, and 2 of them aren't really starting material as far as I'm concerned. I mean, this Bengals team has got to, like Juan said, they've got to be better. They are absolutely blowing this offseason so far. And Mon, you and I said it from the beginning, they have got to hit a home run with this offseason, with the 6 picks, with everything against them. And they're not. They're just not. They're not doing a great job right now.
Eric, you want to put up Tom Jones' comment there that he heard on Malik's show tonight?
Yeah, I was actually, I think that was from before. Let's see if I can find it here. Okay, yeah, so I think Malik said this. I was just pulling up Malik's tweet there. Okay. He said it on Bengals Jim show that the Bengals were in talks with Jenkins, and the Giants were also bidding on him. He also said they were working on another veteran guard, hoping that breaks tonight. So would be nice. With that, let's transition to Olivia's question here. What do you guys think? Timeline predictions for any and all announcements. Let's go with external guard signings. So what are your predictions or concerns about the timeline for Bengals announcing something? Jake, why don't you take it first?
Oh, I think in the next 24 hours. I mean, listen, again, I'm not trying to sound like a homer here. I'm just telling you guys, the Bengals cannot be that incompetent where they know where the biggest weakness on this team is, the interior of the offensive line. They cannot be that incompetent. Looking at the history of the development of offensive linemen on this football team, yes, Andrew Whitworth, yes, Zeitler, yes, guys, there were some here and there. But overall, it's like 10% of the offensive linemen that we have drafted have worked out. It really, truly is, just like on the defensive side of the ball. So the Bengals cannot look at this right now and say, we are doing a good job. If that's the case, then they are all incompetent. This has got to be a situation that gets done right away. And I said it when this show started. I think you are going to see 2 guards be signed by the Bengals, and I think it will be in the next 24 hours. By the way, I think I broke that before Malik, just to let you know.
Okay, Mon, what do you got?
I think there could be a signing tonight, actually. I think the next 24 hours, I think we can have 3 more Bengals added. And then I think things will slow down. I think things will slow down after that. But I could see a very busy, active 24, 48 hours, and the Bengals will be in draft mode.
All right, Olivia said she'll give the closest prediction $2. So I'm going to predict that this is the Bengals way is at 10:07 tonight. They're going to break the news that we've signed Mekhi Becton. 10:07, and then at 11:34, Tevin Jenkins.
That would be something.
That would be a great night.
I think that's going to happen, and I am going to disagree with Mon a little bit. I do think that even after signing these 2 guards, I think in the next 24 hours, I don't think the Bengals are done. I think you could also see a possibly another edge guy. And I said this, although the safety market's been a little off, right? I mean, I really thought there'd be more money in the safety market right now. That Jesse Bates contract's looking pretty sweet right now, Bengals, that you could have got done 2 years ago. But I do think we will see a safety. I do think the Bengals are going to sign a safety. I think they could possibly sign another defensive lineman, and I think you got the 2 guards coming up as well. And then I do think that Trey Hendrickson and T. Higgins is all going to be worked out before the Bengals take the podium on draft night.
Could be.
I have this feeling we're gonna sign off here, and then the news is gonna break, and we're gonna miss it by
I know.
3 minutes.
Of course it's going to happen that way. Of course it's going to happen. I promise you, as soon as we go off the air, it's going to be on my Twitter feed.
As soon as Mon takes his nighttime NyQuil, then we're gonna
Listen, we're already past Mon's bedtime. Are we?
I called out sick tomorrow. I'll be home all day, so if you guys want to do an emergency,
great.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I do. You guys, again, I think that there could be some news tonight. I really do. I believe that. Again, I think right now the Bengals have got to feel like we have not followed through what we promised to Joe Burrow. And again, I know we talked about Carson Palmer earlier. Joe Burrow is not Carson Palmer to the Bengals. The Bengals have much higher respect for Joe Burrow than for Carson Palmer. And again, I'm not here to bash Carson. I'm really not. I could care less, to be honest. But again, I'll go back and say he quit. He is a quitter. I don't care what anyone says.
Just look at it.
Andy Dalton, 5 straight years.
If Palmer doesn't walk away, Andy Dalton walks in his first year, the year after Palmer walks away. If Palmer doesn't walk away, he takes that. Andy Dalton took us to 5 straight playoffs. Palmer's going to take us to a deep playoff run with that same roster, and you don't have to waste your second-round pick on a quarterback. We would have had a good quality second-round pick that year as well. A.J. Green, And Palmer on that roster would have been something else. And it's a shame that he was too impatient to wait just a little bit longer. Maybe that's the moral of tonight's story. We're all worried the Bengals are going to screw this up. We're kind of on the verge of crashing out, but maybe we just have to have a little bit of patience that Palmer didn't have. Wait just a little bit longer and hold on for one more day, and the Bengals will make it right.
Let me ask you guys this.
I know we got some '80s music here.
I know we got to get out of here, but let me ask you this really quick. I'll start with you, Mon, and then Eric. Name two signings that has happened so far that absolutely shocked you. Two things that has happened from any NFL team this free agency period where you were just like, holy crap, I can't believe I'm looking at this.
Well, I mean, I'm going to sound sort of like a hypocrite in a way. I expected Freeze to get a lot of money. He got a lot of money. That was a little bit of an overpay. Okay. I didn't expect him. I'll say this. I can't pick two. I'll give you a team. Minnesota is gone mental with their signings. They absolutely want to. They won 14 games last year, and they lost in the first round of the playoffs. They don't want that to happen again. They signed Hargrove. They signed Fries. They signed a bunch of players. And I'm going to tell you something that concerns me. I know they don't have a quarterback, but DK Metcalf in Pittsburgh is going to be a problem.
I'm excited about. I'm just excited about the clown show that's about to take place with DK and George Pickens, who are the two biggest clowns at that position. And then, man, if you throw Aaron Rodgers in the mix, guys, it's going to be fun to watch. I'm telling you. You have got three of the biggest nutcases in the NFL in one locker room. It's going to be awesome to watch it implode. I'll be honest, I have a really good friend who's a Steelers fan. He is absolutely pissed that the Steelers went out and got DK Metcalf, and I don't blame him because, again, I'm just not a big DK fan. Eric, what do you think?
There's so many narratives this offseason that's been crazy. The Bears trading for so many different linemen, shoring up and signing linemen. The Vikings going off. The Vikings are knocking it out of the park. Good for them. Throwing a lot of eggs into J.J. McCarthy's basket. The big surprises to me, and one is just, they're both kind of, to me, you just laugh. It's like, oh my God. The Jets bring in Justin Fields, 2 years, $40 million, $30 million guaranteed. I'm like, just when you think the Jets can't, they try and they try and they try, but I don't know that they really just jets it up. And then, I mean, God bless Justin Fields.
Did you just make
Dolores' comment? Dolores' comment's killing me. I'm sorry, Eric. I'm not looking. Go ahead. Keep on talking.
Sorry. Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, I hope Justin Fields does better with the Jets than he did with the Steelers, but yeah, it's the Jets. And the other one is God bless them, the Browns. Trading for Kenny Pickett because Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson's not playing for your team anymore. He can't play this year. He's out. He's pretty much done. But yet they are still so affected by him that they go and get somebody who's not a threat to him, like Kenny Pickett, guys. Thank God. I mean, we love some Kenny Pickett in the AFC North. Like, this is great. I love it.
Jerry mentioned it. Laramie Tunsil being traded.
Yeah.
The Texans had a horrible offensive line. He was the best thing on their offensive line, and they got rid of him.
They traded away their whole offensive line.
Can you imagine? Yeah. Can you imagine?
Their offensive line was pretty bad.
It was really bad, guys. Can you imagine being CJ and Joe Mixon? You're like, what the hell are you doing, Texans? How about the irony? This has been one of my favorite things. How about the irony of the Cleveland Browns, right? I mean, this is just the biggest poverty franchise in sports history. And your best player, who is been the best player on your team since maybe Jim Brown, and he comes out and says, I hate this team. We suck. We're never going to win. I don't want to be here. I mean, it was like weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks of Myles Garrett talking about how much he wanted out of Cleveland. And then, because all he wants to do is win, then they throw him this money. He takes it. And what does Cleveland do? They trade for Kenny Pickett. It is just like, you can't make it up. It is so good. It is like TV quality, movie quality good. Like, I want Jerry Bruckheimer. I know they did draft day, right? I know they did draft day with the Cleveland Browns with Kevin Costner. That was just an absolute joke. But I want Jerry Bruckheimer, who I'm not a big fan of. I want him to direct a movie about the Cleveland Browns. I just want to see it. I will pay to see it because, man, oh man, what an absolute circus up north in Ohio is going on right now. Good Lord,
I mean,
it is terrible.
you could write it into like a satire, but you probably couldn't write as good a jokes as some of the things that have come out of there. I mean, it's unfortunate, you know. We've got the best division in football, and yet somehow they just seem to be fumble the ball and you know, even when Mon thinks that they knocked it out of the park, they still don't convert. So it's really frustrating. Let's if the Bengals, you guys good, if the Bengals do sign somebody in the next
Yes.
30 minutes, we'll come back for 15, 20 minutes.
I'm good. Yeah, I can come back for sure, no doubt.
I'll do my best. If not, just Mon's happy. Hey, just say that. I'm probably going to go to bed. I'm not lying. All right, so it's going to be. Remember when the Bengals signed Orlando Brown?
Yes.
Zim said
the
he
phone
would
was on
sleep like
silent.
yeah. Orlando Brown went to bed like at 9. Not Orlando. Zim went to bed at 9 o'clock. He said he woke up and he had like 140 messages.
From us, right?
I was calling you guys, but your phone said Mon is on Do Not Disturb. I'm like trying to like celebrate just me and my son because nobody was awake. It was like 10:02 and everybody was asleep. I thought I was the early bird. It was crazy.
Yeah, I remember I got up and I saw it on my phone. I'm like, what in the hell just happened? And it's all good stuff. But yeah, I mean, if I'm up, I'll jump on. Just let me know.
Okay.
Thank you
Yeah,
for the well wishes,
absolutely.
everybody. Thank you.
Yes. First of all, guys, thank you so much for joining us tonight. You guys are just awesome. I love the comments tonight. They were incredible. Again, if news breaks here in the next hour or so, we will definitely come back on here and talk about it. But until then, guys, if you like this podcast, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to this podcast. Make sure you check us out on all the awesome podcast platforms, Apple, Stitcher, Spotify. As always, guys, follow Mon on Twitter at @TheFireMon. Follow me on Twitter at Coach Jake Owens 9. Follow Eric on Twitter at eFlash with 2 H's 88. Follow the Cincinnati Podcast Network on Twitter at Cincinnati And as always, guys, follow the Bengals Pulse on Twitter at Bengals_Pulse9. The same without the @ on Instagram, Bengals_Pulse9. As always, guys, man, give us that 5-star review. We'd very much appreciate that. Check out all the awesome podcasts right here on the Cincinnati Podcast Network. Guys, again, if something breaks here in the next hour or so, we will be back to talk about it with all of you. Thank you guys so much. We love you. We appreciate you. He is Eric, Mon, I'm Jake. Hoo day, Bengal fans. Hopefully we're talking to you in about an hour.